Hello and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
I'm Chris.
And joining us today, we have the boys from Fandom Entanglement. We have Mike Bloxham. Is that how you pronounce it?
That is how you pronounce it.
And Damon Christopher Sugameli. Sugi, how you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks.
You may know them from Sliders podcast, taking over the world by storm with those Sliders fans, man.
Oh, yeah, the Sliders fans are into it. Yeah.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. I realized I don't have the rundown up, so
Okay, you got to get it up. So
I don't even know what I wrote. Oh, hey, whoa.
So like I was saying, Steve Shives. There's this.
Okay. So
there's this girl.
before we went on mic, Albie accused me of being like Steve Shives, or they said Steve Shives. I didn't know what they're talking
wearing
about.
The hat.
Wearing the hat, cosplaying him. If you had the Niners shirt on, you would have nailed it. But he's like. What I was saying was, if you ever watch Glee, there's a character that's
I'm going to stop you right there, Albie.
What?
Have I ever watched Glee?
You should. You know, you're in line for Wicked for hours. I mean, and both of the Wicked ladies are on the show. So, but the whole thing is her inner monologue is like some really famous British actress. I want to say like Dame Judi Dench or something. I have no idea. But like, if I had an inner monologue, it would be much more together than I am, and much more eloquent than I am. So I watch Steve Shives. Shives? Which is it? Shives.
Pretty sure.
And I watch his show because, like, that's what I think. I just can't say it like that nicely, you know?
I have never heard of this person.
That's great.
It's not a reflection on the person. It's a reflection on me.
It's basically Star Trek and political and just like things in general. I think the way I got into him first was it came up, this is what's public domain this year. It was like different lists of movies and stuff.
Anyway, okay.
But he's like one of those guys, he's like NPR where you stay in the driveway until it's done and you instantly subscribe. So shout out to him. He's a cool Trekkie.
Is it a podcast? Is it a
It's
YouTube
just him
show?
sitting with a camera
Yep.
talking.
All right, then.
I got into him watching these comparisons of different Star Trek characters. Like he would say, who really is the best counselor, and it would pit Counselor Troy versus other people who were in TNG who maybe made a better ship's counselor than Troy would have, that sort of thing. So look him up. He's got some really cool Trek content.
Yeah, and it's very thoughtful, very, very intelligent. So I think you would like it, Chris. And also, he does little skits sometimes. The latest one that I liked was he did something about Starfleet time travel, something, and things kept changing. That was really good. All right, today we are talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. You saw the thumbnail. Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor. This was Damon's suggestion, and heck yeah, we went along with it.
Yeah.
So, Damon, why The Visitor?
Well, The Visitor was it's sort of in my first impressions of this, but like it was the first episode that ever made me cry of Star Trek, and like I will die on the hill saying it's probably out of like Berman era Trek, it's still like my all-time favorite Trek episode.
Amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Mike, why did you go along with it?
Well, Damon and I are partners in crime, but also I agree. It's a fantastic DS9 episode. It's definitely on my top 10, and for similar reasons, it's the only one that suddenly gives me seasonal allergies every time I watch it. So.
Allergies, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Mike and Damon from Fandom Entanglement. You can find them at fandomentanglement.com and youtube.com/ad. I'm guessing Fandom Entanglement.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Links below. It's worth checking out. I know there's at least a couple episodes that are like the best. All right. Because I'm on them. Hey. All right. So we're talking Deep Space Nine today. I'm really excited to start jumping around, quite like, maybe a little like Benjamin Sisko. We're just jumping all over the place. Chris, before we get too much into it, we're doing The Visitor, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 2, original air date October 9th, 1995. Writer Michael Taylor. I want to talk more about him later, but oh my God, this guy can write. He's a good writer for me. Not my favorite writer. Directed by David Livingston. All right, so Christopher D. Philippus, could you read us the episode synopsis? He is my favorite author of all time, Christopher D. Philippus.
You should aim higher. And this is quite the long synopsis. Everybody strap in.
My favorite. It's my favorite part of the show.
Fade in, morning. In a decidedly neo-antebellum style living room, an old man picks up a curious little gadget and pokes himself in the neck. Faster than you can say opening credits, and you don't have to say it fast at all because the DS9 open is long, like way long. They even introduced a funky little beat into the score in season 4, but it only serves to remind you just how insanely long this open actually is. Anyway, as fast or as slow as you can say opening credits, we are back in that same living room, but it is now a dark and stormy night. A shot rang out, the maid screamed, and the doorbell rings. The same old man opens it to reveal a comely young woman who is lost in the storm. He invites her in, and it turns out that she really wasn't lost at all. She is writer Jake Sisko's biggest fan, and she just showed up on his doorstep in the dead of night to ask him about writing. Yes, this is older Jake. And of course, he invites this complete lunatic into his house because this is actually a wish fulfillment fantasy for all the writers out there who just know that there are scores of hot young women out there who think they are akin to gods, what with their prodigious talent, and who want to seek them out, dripping with rainwater and sexual vigor. So no wonder Jake sits her down, makes her tea, and starts relating his life story. He is old now and has only written one book and a collection of short stories. The girl wonders how this could possibly be the case, what with his prodigious talent, and Jake begins his tragic tale. Flashback to DS9. Young Jake is vexed by a story that just won't come together when Ben tells him to snap out of it. We're going to the wormhole to see this once every 50-year event. Insert wormhole babble here. But that wormhole babble turns out to be a bit more intense than expected, and suddenly the Defiant is in a bad way. Ben and Jake rush to engineering to tech the tech and prevent a warp core breach, and phew, the day is saved. But then Ben is zapped by a residual subspace pulse or something and disappears in a flash of white light. Months pass. Ben is mourned. Jake is bummed. He is moping around DS9 and just can't get over the loss of his dad. But then Dad appears in Jake's room, confused. He calls out Jake's name before he disappears again. Jake is even more tortured now that he knows Ben is somehow still alive. All of this happens amid a backdrop where relations with the Klingons have become dicey, the Bajorans have entered into a mutual defense pact with the Cardassians, and, DS9 got a politics, right? More time passes, and Ben appears again. This time, Jake gets him to sickbay, where the command staff determines that the subspace pulse messed up Ben's temporal alignment, stranding him in subspace. Almost no time has passed for Ben, despite the years that Jake has spent in tortured waiting. They do everything they can to bring Ben home, but it doesn't work. He vanishes again. Devastated, Jake refuses to give up on his dad, but reality says, not so fast, kid, and soon DS9 is abandoned to the Klingons. Years pass and Jake is back on Earth, in that same house from earlier, happily married. Nog has risen up the Starfleet ranks, and he is visiting Jake to celebrate the publication of Jake's first novel. And apparently Ben didn't want to be left out because he zaps into the middle of Jake's living room with a hearty hello and meets the wife. He vanishes again in short order, and Jake is devastated anew. Sense a pattern here? He gives up his writing and said wife and becomes a subspace engineer in a last desperate attempt to rescue his dad. He has determined that he and Ben are somehow tethered through a subspace link. That's why Ben is always pulled back to him. He figures out a way to get Ben back and calls on Captain Nog to get the Defiant out of mothballs to return to the scene of the accident. Honestly, I forgot why this was supposed to work, and it turns out not to work, but it's neat to see Sid, Aaron, and Terry in old age makeup. For his part, Ben is aghast that Jake has sacrificed his whole life in his obsession with rescuing him. He begs Jake to let it go, and poofs out. And so, here we are, back with the older, broken Jake on a stormy night, pouring his heart out to Mary Sue. And he's not finished yet. He knows that tonight is the night that Ben will reappear, and he knows now what he has to do. Break their subspace link so that Ben can snap back to the time and place of the original accident. How is he going to do it? He has to die, of course. And remember that shot he gave himself at the top of the episode? Yeah. Ben appears. He is bereft at Jake's sacrifice. Jake says they can now live the life they were meant to, and dies. Ben does indeed snap back, dodges the subspace pulse, and cradles young Jake, miserable. What did you expect from DS9? A happy ending?
Kind of a happy ending.
Kind of a happy ending. So I'm sorry I kind of screwed that up. I should have reread it before I wrote this morning.
They'll never know in the edit.
Hours and hours and hours. Yeah. I've seen how you edit these.
So before we go further, Damon, first impressions. Before it was just like the headline. This is like the 3-paragraph, 4-paragraph thing.
Right. So just like I'm trying to remember when I first saw this. So I don't know. So you know how like when they first aired it, it was they showed like the previews and stuff like coming next week or whatever.
Next time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
And it was probably like I probably like read some stuff about what they were doing for season 4. So it's like for whatever reason, I remember like I knew this was going to be a good one. So I made like the VHS tapes. I used to like record this stuff when I knew there were like special episodes. So it's an episode that I've watched over and over again for all these years. So like, because my first impression of the episode was just like, I just loved it. Like I said at the beginning, first Star Trek that ever made me cry. I have a different perspective on it now, obviously, because I am a father. We'll talk about that later. But I think the initial impression is just like, this doesn't even have to be an episode of Star Trek. It's just like, this is just a great story, I think. Overall, like it's there's a little bit of mythology, but it's like it's not really that important to it, and I think that's kind of why I loved it so much, because this really kind of is a really great science fiction story about the bond between father and son. That's where I stand with it. So,
Mike.
Yeah, I agree with what I just want to pick up what you're saying there, Damon, because I felt the same. It doesn't have to be a Star Trek story. I mean, it's a sci-fi story, obviously, but it really does speak to the father-son bond, and having the background that we know Jake and Ben do, having lost Jennifer 4 years prior. So having him lose another parent and be orphaned at 17 or just verging on the age of majority. I think I get why he's so devastated, and obviously anyone would be devastated losing both their parents that young, but being tortured for that first year, thinking maybe he's still alive, and then finding out he is, and then trying to move on with his life. Just every time he thinks he's gonna he's gonna pick up sticks and keep living his life, Ben shows up and reminds him that he's still out there. So I remember it from the original air. I don't think it made me cry back then because I was like 12, but but nowadays it's a very touching story, well written, extremely well acted, just overall fantastic episode.
Yeah, at that age, it's hard to understand loss. Chris.
Overall, fantastic episode. I think that I had just been watching DS9 regularly for almost half a season. Like I've said this many times on the show. I came into DS9 sometime in the middle of season 3. And then, season 4 is the first season that I saw from the beginning, waiting for it to come on. And it was quickly becoming my favorite show. And this was one of the episodes that just cemented that. It was so different from what I've seen in Star Trek. There are a couple of things in it that bump me, but at the end of the day, powerful piece of television, powerful piece of storytelling, one of the Trek all-timers. I know that we seem like we're gushing, but this one really does hold up. How about you, Albie?
Gushing deservedly so. It's, for me, it's weird because it's not one that I think of like the best of all time. You start thinking of stuff like City on the Edge of Forever, different ones that stick out. But maybe it's because it's Tony Todd. It's not like the whole bridge crew or getting together and doing a thing, but it's one that you don't remember. But when you're watching it, and when I watched it again this time, the last few times, it's like really one of the best episodes. So I'm very glad Damon suggested it. It's like Damon said, it's different when you're a parent, when you're watching it. Like when I first watched it, I was like Mike. I was a kid. I was just like, oh, that's kind of sad. I didn't quite understand it. Later on in life, when I was closer to losing my dad, I think. it hit me more. And then after I lost my dad, it hit me even harder. And then now being a father, it hits you even harder. It's like, holy crap, this thing just keeps, hitting you in the heart. But it's a lot of tears, but they're good tears. It's sadness and joy all at the same time. And the writer of this episode, who is it?
You said you had so much to say about him.
I
the
do.
writer
Later.
of the episode is Michael Taylor.
Michael Taylor. Amazing job. One of the best written episodes, I think, and performed episodes, directed episodes. Couple bumps, but they're just for fun. I wouldn't even mention him if we weren't talking about it. So I'm excited that we're going to have this discussion and talk about all the things that made us cry and feel closer to the ones around us. Chris, before we do that, can you let people know where they can find us and reach out to us?
Well, they can always do so right here on our YouTube channel. Thank you for asking,
right
Albie.
down
That's
below.
youtube.com/@Treksploration. You can also find us on Patreon, where you can support the show. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. You can hit us up on the gram at Treksploration Pod. You can find us on Blue Sky at
Blue Sky, smiling at me.
Social.
Nothing but blue sky.
TikTok
Do I
dances at Treksploration. Email us, treksplorationpod@gmail.com. You can send us your own lethal neck doohickey at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. And please, no, do not send poison darts through the mail. You can buy us a coffee. That's a one-time donation that you can do through PayPal, friends, family, that kind of thing. That's buymeacoffee.com/Treksploration. I think I got that in the wrong order. I think Albie put the one-time donation, PayPal, friends, and family links below. This is new to me.
I'm not good at
There
formatting.
was such a thing.
I got it
Yeah.
from Steve Shives. He did that on one of his ends of one of his
This
videos.
Steve
I was like,
Shives again.
that's a great idea. He's a handsome man too. He's like you, Chris, and Mike, and Damon.
Not like me. If he's a handsome man, he's not like me.
Oh, you're handsome.
So I guess we can do a one-time donation. You can do it by PayPal, friends, and family. Links here below on the YouTube channel. So link below. And we also want to thank everybody who currently supports us. That includes our lifetime member, the Omnipotent Willard. And a shout out to all our intrepid Trek explorers over on Patreon. That is Cadet Listen Linda. I almost screwed up your name, Linda. Lieutenant Commander Scott Seligman, Lieutenant Commander Cosplay Dad, and of course the esteemed Captain Charles from Texas, Captain on the Bridge.
Captain Charles, Captain.
Thank you, one and all, for supporting the show. Thank you to our free patrons as well. And thank you to everybody here on the YouTube channel that's watching, liking, subscribing, sharing. Woo! Send us your photos for the credits. We'll put them in there. There's a cute picture of my dog, so you should stick around for that.
Penny, Penelope. And do we have any feedback?
Feedback. I think we do.
Feedback!
I asked you to get this. Linda's been, feedbacking on a tear here.
Gotta love Linda. Cadet
Linda.
So, she might be in getting a promotion soon. I don't know.
I'm guessing that, she was as smitten by the episode that you just did with Alison Pregler regarding the Voyager episode Fairhaven. That's up there. It's got a gazillion views because we had a real celebrity on.
Real celebrity.
We too. Yeah. And no offense, Mike, no offense.
Hey, this might get up there. They get some views. They bring some boys to the yard.
Did I just step in it? Anyway. So yeah, they were watching the Fairhaven episode, which is the Voyager holodeck episode about an Irish town or something.
Delete the wife.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
What?
But listen, Linda writes, this is the weird science episode. Janeway is making the perfect man. Did she wear a bra on her head when she did it? What's the moral of the story? It's our imperfections that make us perfect. Is that the moral of the story? Did Listen, Linda nail it?
It's what makes it more real.
Okay.
It's what makes a person who they are, and you love a person for who they are. Snoring and all.
Yeah. Well, thank God for that, because I'd be sunk otherwise. So. Listen, Linda, we love you for who you are.
Yes.
And we also got some more feedback on the YouTube channel from Verdant Range. Verdant Range writes, IIRC, and he or she or they thankfully explain that IIRC stands for, if I remember correctly, or if I recall correctly.
That was me.
But okay. Thank you, Albie.
Yes.
And Verdant, yeah, I'm not hip with the lingo.
Me neither.
I
had no idea what that meant, so I figured I'd write it down.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's like 90s ICQ lingo.
Cool.
What does ICQ mean? That's one cold Q is what that is. That's Q in Antarctica. ICQ.
It's a play on words and letters and sounds.
I'm telling you. They write, if I remember or recall correctly, by the time of Fairhaven, Voyager had made contact with the Alpha Quadrant, and Janeway found out her fiancé had moved on.
Yeah, we weren't sure if like Janeway was cheating because it was a hologram or not, but she was already single. Mark let her go.
That damn Mark.
Yep, Mark.
Smart guy.
Yep.
Max Arceus, I'm saying it, Marcius writes, you guys should watch Star Trek Prodigy. It's a spiritual successor to Voyager, and despite being aimed at kids, is actually really good. It takes a few episodes to start feeling like Star Trek, though. Max, you have to go back to our videos. Did we cover Prodigy?
I think episode 1 and 2 we did.
Yeah, you know what? I'm getting confused because I did a lot of episodes of Prodigy on that Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, you did.
On Sean and Scott's show.
I did not let you go. I'm still waiting for you. I'm
this
still
was
waiting
before
for you.
Treksploration.
You're not thinking fourth dimensionally. Sometimes action predates cause.
Okay, I keep forgetting that. I mean, I'm too straight edge, and apparently I go only one direction.
That's part of the problem too.
So yeah, we have watched Prodigy. We watched all of Prodigy. I think I can speak for everybody here on the panel tonight that we've seen every bit of Prodigy there is to see. And I've had varying degrees of like and dislike about it. But yes, if you're going to look for a Voyager sequel, Prodigy certainly is the closest you're going to get at this point.
What interests me maybe to cover in the future is maybe the season 2 Doctor Who-ish arc.
Of Prodigy?
Prodigy, yeah.
Or Voyager?
Prodigy.
Was Voyager bigger on the inside?
Yep. It's got a whole Irish town in it.
That's right. Frogface 90. That's right. The holodeck is a freaking TARDIS. I never even considered that.
Heck yeah.
So how does that work? So like if you're in Fairhaven and Tom and Harry are tied up in a basement somewhere because they think that they're ghosts, and Janeway's getting it on with the tall guy after the wife has been deleted, and they're all like geographically located in different parts of town. So, but what are they? They're like 5 feet from each other.
They're all 6 feet apart from each other. Janeway's getting on, and Harry and Tom
how can you not hear them? What is there like? Are there containment fields?
Photons and force fields
that dampen sound and smell?
Yep.
There's all that hard light between them.
Yeah.
What's between them?
Hard light.
Hard light. Yeah, there was.
Got some rumor going on.
Isn't this like the question with the imaging chamber in Quantum Leap too? Like, how big is that thing? Like when he walks. Didn't they do that in the first novel? Like, how didn't Sam actually ask him that or something?
Yeah,
I think in the McConnell verse it was a little different.
Yeah.
Wasn't it in the one of the technical manuals? I think in the TNG technical manual they showed like an omnidirectional treadmill that everybody's walking on and staying in place. And now Disney's developed something like that, the Imagineers.
Yeah, but how can they do that if there are like 7 people on the same holodeck walking in a different direction?
I'm guessing it's like they're all on with the Google goggles on or with the goggles on, and they're all doing this, but they don't have to do that because of the technology. So I think they all have their own little bubble around them.
Right. Why can't the force field, why can't the omnidirectional thing on the bottom also be a construct of the holodeck?
I think it is.
It doesn't
it has grass and gravel and water, and I don't know how.
Yeah. But I mean, we keep thinking like they still have to be on some kind of tactile surface.
Right. They might not have to.
Right. I don't know.
Because I think it was the Belanotaurus episode where she's trying to kill herself in the holodeck.
Right. So she can skydive.
Yeah. And like at the end, she just like stands up straight before sitting down. So I guess they're supported.
So, but then if someone says, and like say Mulgre's in there, Janeway's in there, and she's knocking boots, and Harry and Tom are about to get killed, and they frantically yell "end program." Are they gonna find Janeway? What is it? In flagrante delicto or
au natural?
Yeah, right.
I think so. I think that's why
arms and other things akimbo.
Tom might have seen it, and maybe that's why they get it on a little bit later and have some lizard babies.
Could be. I don't know. So interesting questions. Thank you for that, Max. I don't know how we got on that from, a kid show like, but we did it, damn it. A little bit more feedback. This one's from Frogface91 regarding Fairhaven. I think that having a relationship with a hologram is cheating. You're not just a viewer, you're physically interacting with something that feels like a real person and developing feelings for them. But Janeway wasn't cheating because she was single by then. She'd already found out about Mark moving on. Right. So, yes, established.
Something me and Allison were confused about the timeline.
Listen, Linda's trying to score points with Allison because she wants to be on a more famous show than ours. Allison's hair looks amazing.
She does. Her hair looks amazing. She always looks amazing. You seen her Instagram game lately? Man.
Yes, I've scrolled through and seen a few. It's either Allison with her new hair or ponies.
We're very lucky to have many beautiful people in our group, in our fam.
The most beautiful being Grogu. At have a potato 691. Have a potato 691. They write, "This is my first time watching a video from your channel. Any friend of Allison is a friend of mine, so I'm subscribing. Thank you."
Woo!
Have a potato.
Thank you. Have a potato. I will have a potato later. That's very nice. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Cheating. If it's a holodeck, are you cheating? I know some of you are married, so you have to give the right answer, but what's the real answer? They won't watch this. It's a podcast about Star Trek.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, how adult are we going to get here? There are other things that you can do that aren't holodecks that would you consider them cheating?
I would say no to all of it, unless it's a real live person.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah.
If the person, the quote, construct on the holodeck is indistinguishable from a real live person, is there any daylight there?
That just makes it better.
Well, doesn't the holodeck also make it physical too? So
yeah, photons, force fields, and replicators. So you're replicating person meat? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Was Minuet human meat being puppeted around?
Yeah,
or was she just a hologram? I would say she's a hologram.
I would say it might be cheating. But...
Might be cheating. Okay, yeah, he won't be in trouble tonight. Mike!
No, I agree with you, Albie. I think it's not unless it's a real, live, sentient being.
Yeah, because there can be fantasy and affection, but there can't be true love, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, tell it to Vic.
That's true.
You don't think
if they're sentient, does that make a difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Doctor is even though he's the same exact thing as any hologram that you'd find on the holodeck, now there is some kind of spark of sentience?
Because it's the whatever the real version of the soul is, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is all, we're getting all measure of a man.
Oh.
We are.
It's too late for me to think about this in my head.
But my final opinion, I came down on that was it might be, but I don't care because I need a girlfriend.
Gotcha.
All right. Did we get an email?
We got an email. Listen, Linda, she sent us a shot from Vasquez Rocks.
Yes.
Vasquez Rocks is, of course, where the Gorn fought Kirk. And it's a picture of her. She's saying you never know who you're going to run into when you go to Vasquez Rocks. And it's the Gorn. It's like the guy in the Gorn suit, the TOS Gorn, not Strange New Worlds Gorn. And Linda is in her, it looks like a lower decks.
Yep, lower decks.
Yeah, lower decks uniform. So
very cool. Nerd. Very cool. That'll definitely be in the end credits from now on.
And I'm sure you flashed it up here.
Yep.
As we were watching.
I flashed everything. Look away! Look away!
Look away! We're not on the holodeck, Albie.
We're not. I can't wait for the holodeck. Right now, I got the goggles, so they're good enough for now. They'll last me, I think. Awards. I want to say this. I was in this episode.
Did we win an award?
This episode. Well, it was nominated. It should have.
Is it a prestigious award? Is it for Geely?
The Visitor. I thought Tony Todd should have won an Emmy for this performance. So I looked it up, and the awards were. It says this episode was nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Makeup for a series. The award was won by Voyager Threshold.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought the makeup in Threshold was great. So
It was great.
It was much better than the makeup in this. I'm sorry. This was outstanding makeup.
No, Threshold won.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, like, how was this even?
I thought the
Quite
old
frankly,
makeup
this was-
in this was really good. Because
I think it was kind of janky.
Yeah.
my least favorite episode is Too Short a Season, just because the makeup's so bad.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. If you're going to compare it to Too Short a Season, then makeup that I did right here now with with Play-Doh and Spirit Gum
You look nice.
would be better.
It was also nominated for a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, which was won by the Babylon 5 episode, The Coming of Shadows.
Oh.
Well,
Which is
which
what
episode
happens on
was
the
that?
holodeck. I don't know. I've never seen B5.
That one I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I love B5.
Yeah.
That would have been, I think, when Sheridan is aware of the
Zaha Doom and stuff.
yeah. It's
All right.
I can't remember the full plot, but it's a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
They went to Khazad-dûm in
Yeah,
Babylon 5.
it's you gotta know who you are and what you want. But
It's
the
Moria adjacent.
The hard part for me on Babylon 5 is kind of like Deep Space Nine or maybe more Discovery, where it's like a big arc, so you're not sure which story is what episode.
Yeah.
But, let's see. The Visitor was also up against Apollo 13, Toy Story, and 12 Monkeys for the Hugo Award.
Wow.
Okay, so
competition.
12 Monkeys, the series, or 12 Monkeys?
Back then, it had to
the
be the
film?
movie.
The original movie.
Yeah,
Which is my favorite movie.
It's a great movie.
Science fiction movie of all time.
I have it on Laserdisc and DivX and DVD.
My
and
favorite
Blu-ray.
time travel movie, my favorite everything. I love that movie.
Great movie.
So much.
So much.
Terry Gilliam at the height of his powers.
Yes. I haven't watched Brazil yet. Have you? I haven't seen it yet.
Brazil. Yes, I watched Brazil for the first time a few years ago. It was pretty okay.
Okay. I watched the
Brazil-
behind the scenes special effects on it from Corridor Crew.
It was no Baron
So
Munchausen.
it makes me want to watch it. No, I'm surprised I haven't. So we'll kick it to Phantom Entanglement, guys, for a bit. Let's
We've
start this discussion out. What do you want to talk about? There's so much to
We've
talk
been
about.
blabbing
With
and
Star Trek
blabbing
Deep
and
Space Nine,
blabbing.
The Visitor.
Well, I guess I mean on the point of two Jakes, Sierra Lofton and Tony Todd, both fantastic acting. Just I don't know. I'm starting to get those allergies again just thinking of some of those
Yeah.
scenes. The amount of emotion they conveyed with zero words, just their expression, the way they. I don't know. Just it's giving me goosebumps. It was just fantastic acting. I can't gush any further.
Yeah, well,
I put. Go ahead, Damon.
I
You
was gonna
first.
say, I think I mean, I not that he was ever like bad or anything like Sirach Lofton. I think like that was really kind of. I feel like that was when we really started to see like what he was capable of doing. Just in terms of how he felt and you can tell like the grief and just like the loneliness he was feeling. I mean, and I felt like that was like that was at a point too where I was, I think, starting to relate to him because he was at that age, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I was like the same age then. I was when the heck was this? The late 90s? When did you say?
90. We said 95.
96, 95?
October
We
96.
have it right up top here. I
Yeah.
can go back.
95. October 9th, 1995.
So I was like 19. Yeah,
Sorry, 95.
yeah, so I was like 19. Yeah, so I felt like I was like also starting to feel like I wanted to be like this aspiring writer at the time, and like but I always felt like kind of like I didn't quite belong, like trying to find my place in the world. So yeah, I felt like this was the first time I really started to like relate to that. So it was that, like I said, that feeling of loneliness and just like somebody in his corner, and just to have that taken away from you, like with your parental figure, is just heartbreaking.
I agree with the heartbreaking part. The reason I wanted to start out the conversation with the two Jakes, aside from the fact that it's a great short story collection, much like Jake's short story collection in this, by Glenn Hirschberg, one of my favorite authors. I recommend, if you can find the two Jakes, get the two Jakes story collection. Anyway, that's one thing about this episode that kind of bumped me. I got to be honest with you. Tony Todd's fantastic. but Tony Todd is Tony Todd. Tony Todd is a far cry from Sirach Lofton.
Yeah.
And to make it so that, I mean, I know this is a TV convention. They do it all the time where you have an older act. They've done it like 17 times on Supernatural because, you know, the kids that played Sam and Dean as kids were as old as Sam and Dean by the time the show ended. So they had to keep finding younger actors to play Sam and Dean that variably looked like them. I remember hearing, and I'm going to lift this from the mission log guys, I heard them talking about this. They really did try to put Sirach into old age makeup and age him up and have him do the role, but it wasn't working.
It wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't, because he was just a little too young.
Yeah.
And it was just so screamingly obvious. And they didn't think that he wasn't equal to the task of doing the acting part of it. They just couldn't make it look realistic enough on camera to have him, quote, grown up.
I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they already did too short a season. They didn't want to do that again. I'm sure they knew that sucked too.
But that being said, I think some of Tony Todd's acting here was a little dicey.
Sacrilege.
And
How do I hang up on this
no,
guy?
I'm not saying it wasn't poignant. I'm not saying it wasn't effective and emotional. I'm just saying there were some line reads that he had that kind of bumped me. But the same can be said about Avery, quite frankly. A lot of times I'm watching it and Avery's choices take me out of it. And I love Cisco. I think Cisco is like, he's the bomb. But, you know, just sometimes Avery makes these weird choices, but that's what makes him Avery. That's what makes him interesting to watch. Yeah. And I feel like Tony kind of did that a little bit here too. Almost like you could see him settling into the role. It's a little bit, and I know they shoot these things all out of order, but in my mind, it seems a little bit more prominent in the beginning. And then, or maybe it's just me as the episode goes on, easing into his style and, you know, buying the fact that this is supposed to be Jake a little bit more because I'm more swept up in the story emotionally. But I have to say, if I could redo this episode, I love Tony Todd. Again, great performance on the whole. I really wish that we could do something where you could now, as you could with CG, especially, just age Sirach so that he could carry the story from beginning to end.
I think if the technology was there, that might have worked. Because if you remember, like Nog, Aaron Eisenberg is such a silly character and such, you know, young kid. But Paper Moon, it's only Paper Moon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they gave him something to act with, and he nailed it. I think Sirach could have done the same thing, but for his part that he did play, I thought it was great. But I'm gonna wholeheartedly, respectfully disagree with you. I think Tony Todd was perfect in this episode.
Perfect. That's. Come
you know,
on.
if every time I think of his performance, I start to tear up. He did something.
Oh, so do I.
He did something
but
right.
Yeah. All right. No, I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm not saying that he didn't. I don't know. You
Damon,
lavish
settle
praise.
this.
I mean, you say that I'm
What I
handsome,
will
so
say
you
is-
lavish praise too easily.
I do. I like everything.
I
Exactly.
will say, as I was like, I watched it again. It was like I watched it for the first time again in years. Like it was like last week or something, and was like, I think I know what Chris means, where it's just like a little over the top. Maybe that's the right word for it. Like maybe he's articulating the words a little too much.
Yes, a little bit too much diction in
Great,
some
but
places.
it's just a little too much like an actor talking.
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit.
a little too. It's almost like
Just a bit.
I understand that this has got to be poignant
Right.
and important, so I'm going to speak every word.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
So but I mean, it's like little things like that bump me, and
He had just injected poison.
so he should kind of be a little bit slow and slurry.
A little bit. Maybe
He should be like me after 2 martinis.
Yeah, I love it. I think he did great. It's a performance. I think a standout performance as Star Trek goes. Very rarely do you get a guest star that carries an episode. Like they've done it. They've tried it in other series and other episodes. But I think this one he carried it.
The acting from him, I think, felt more natural toward the end when he was dying. I think like that felt more natural.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. In the beginning, it was like almost like there was too much, like overconfidence, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just think that it's almost like he was exploring finding the voice of the character.
Yeah.
And again, as I stated, I think that I might have met it halfway as it was going on, so it became a little bit less apparent to me.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there are people that have to have this somewhat similar opinion. Let us know down below in the comments on the YouTubes. Mike, did you get any sense of that, or are we just a bunch of nitpicky jerks?
Maybe I'll have to watch it for the third time in the last 2 weeks, and see what I did not notice it. But I just felt like it was, I could see it being the older Jake, and being, a much older man. He's got to be in his 90s, it looks like, at this point. Kind of knowing it's his last day and has this mysterious visitor, and just wants to tell his story, and he wants to tell it right. So I was absorbed in the story. I guess I didn't notice any overly practiced diction going on.
Okay. Overly practiced diction. That's again a holodeck. We can make everything a dirty holodeck.
What I will say too is, like, at the time when I saw this, I didn't realize either that Tony Todd also was Worf's brother, right?
Yeah, Kern.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So he was sort of
Kern
in it
who-
regularly already at this
Yeah.
point, wasn't he?
Didn't Kern, who they mind bleeped,
Yes.
or Kern?
Candyman. He's been in so many things. Final Destination series, I think he's in most, if not all of them.
I feel like DS9 was a vehicle where guest stars could nail it on Star. Look at Duet. Look at, I think it was Brian Dennehy, I think, was in an episode with Kira. He was like one of the last Bajoran holdouts on like a settlement planet.
Who was that?
Was Brian Keith or Brian Dennehy?
Brian
It was
Boitano?
Hardcastle and McCormick.
It was really good.
Yeah, he was great. I don't remember the name of the actor in Duet, but also look at freaking Louise Fletcher. Look at Jeffrey Combs. Playing 17 different roles.
Casting. Whoever did the casting director, producers.
I mean, so they could do it for semi-regulars, but they could do it on one-shots just like this. Even though we're talking about Jake here, I mean, this is Jake. So it really is technically a regular.
He was committed to the part on I think it was the Seventh Rule podcast. Sirach was talking about how Tony Todd came in and followed him around for days, and like was asking other members of the crew to describe Sirach to him and different things they noticed that he could emulate and stuff like that. So he really took it seriously.
I'm trying to, I would have to complete a rewatch of DS9 to see where Sirach was at this point in the show. Had he been featured a lot in beyond, getting up to shenanigans on the promenade with Nog? Did Jake have any significant stories? This is obviously before the
Muse, was it?
The Muse, when he gets that's from our Quantum Leap grandmama, Laura.
Yep.
Why am I blanking on her name? She's got those crazy eyes.
Oh, Matt Foster.
Meg Foster, yeah.
Meg
Foster was the Muse. And she is a striking woman, Meg Foster. But beyond that, and they do give Jake a lot more to do because they're so committed to exploring the whole ensemble on this show. I have to have somebody out there remind me whether or not this was Jake's first real huzzah in DS9 after after he grew up, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's difficult. There's fun episodes that stick out, like the self-stealing stem bolts and stuff like that.
But I feel like that one came after this one.
That's
when they had established.
I want to
Jake
say they
and
were
Nog
younger.
thing,
That was an earlier season. This is season 4.
All right, then
Jake
so
and
I stand
Nog
corrected.
were partners in crime in season 1.
That I know, with the itching powder or the fleas. The fleas that turns you green, right?
Purple, something like that, yeah.
I was going to say before this, I know it was it season 3, like when him and they did the thing with Cisco going on the ship, making the ship or something.
Yes.
That was like between the two of them. That was like
the
toward
solar
the end.
sail ship.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rewatched that a couple weeks ago because I think Delta Flyers, I think they covered it, so I watched it again.
I have to rewatch that. All I can remember is that episode asked us to accept that a wooden ship with Mylar sails was space worthy. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was built in a week.
Yeah, built in a week. Yeah. And how did they get it off the ground?
Well,
Did they build it in orbit? Wait a minute. How could they? And it can go to warp because of solar winds. Anyway.
it was a good father-son episode, though. I love the father-son episodes. I think that's probably part of why I love this one so much. Like, can I ask a hard question? Who's in the Dead Dads Club? Is it just me?
It's not, thank goodness, not a.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's not a good club to be in. So I think that's another reason why it affected me. Growing up, my best friend was my dad. And just the loss of him really hit me hard. And it still hits me hard. And it's been since 2009. So quite a while.
Dead
and then-
father-in-law, but
Huh?
dead father-in-law, but
Yeah. But I'm very happy for you guys. Most of my IRL friends, they have lost their fathers. I don't know what maybe it's the heat. But it makes those wounds open up easier when you have a story written as well. And like he was my best friend. I lost my best friend. I made a new best friend because my daughter's my best friend. You know? And those are like probably in my whole lifetime, those are the two real connections that I've had. My father and my daughter. So that's why this episode kills me every time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like raw emotion on display here. And I think in other episodes or other shows, maybe just in the hands of like a lesser duo than Sirach and Avery, it might have come off as like way melodramatic. But like you said, Albie, the emotion that they could convey with a look. Now I'm getting allergies. It's and I can say I cried like multiple times throughout this episode. So I know that I'm again, I always look at stuff with sort of a critical eye to discuss what, maybe they could have done better. But at the end of the day, wow. I mean, just it was all there. It was all there. They were wearing it on their sleeves, and we ate up every bit of it. And that's kind of a weird mixed metaphor. Maybe we should maybe streamline that somehow. But so I get exactly what you're talking about there, and I can't imagine how much more poignant it must be if it's a loss that you have already felt personally, and how it must evoke. If it's doing this to me, just the thought of losing my father gets me, beside myself. So, then seeing this, and then had I been on the other side of that, like you are now, I can't imagine. I don't want to have to experience it like that. Not for a good, long, long time.
And to double that, now that I'm older and not as healthy, and I have a daughter, I'm on the other side of that. So I'm contemplating my own mortality and the loss I'm going to feel as I slip away, and the loss that my daughter's going to have to go through. So that messes it all up again. So it's
wow. And as I said in the open, what'd you expect from DS9? A happy ending? So moving on, alternate timelines, huh?
Yeah, it'll do it. The other thing is, it's more than just the loss of his dad, and his wife because of his obsession to save his dad. It's also the loss of Jake's life, old Jake's life. He lost his life because he gave up his life, focused on bringing his dad back, so he didn't live his life, which is what his dad wanted.
Yep.
So then I'm going through that as well. When you get to that age and like, what have I done? What could I have done? What can I do anymore that I could have done that I didn't do? What might have been. It's a lot.
Well, I mean, like we're discussing that grief and that loss. Does anyone have any postulation as to why can't Jake let this go? Like, why is he? And maybe we're only seeing him at different slices in his life where this is affecting him the most. So it just seems like he just is not able to come to any kind of peace with this situation. We see a little bit of it when we meet his wife, played by the lovely, it's over here somewhere behind, Albie put all these notes, Galen Gorg? Her name was Karina in the episode, Galen Gorg. I mean, she was a bright light, and she was fun to be with. The scene with Jake, Karina, and Nog, I thought was maybe the strongest part of the episode, because it's just like, because I love Jake and Nog. So seeing them together always makes me happy. And I guess at this point, I'm buying Tony as Jake. So, and just seeing Aaron, being able to do something, is always good. So they really had a good dynamic with those three. So you can see that he was falling into happiness. He was a productive writer. He had written his first book. Things seem to be looking up, and then all of a sudden Ben zaps in and derails that entire process. So how come at that point, with so much more going for him, he seemed to have gotten on his own 2 feet. He seemed to have moved on. How did this completely sabotage that? Where in the beginning, he had really nothing. He was aimless. He was drifting. He didn't know what he was going to do because he's so racked with grief. He's just about over it, and he does have something to live for, and a new normal, new passions, new loves, new reality, and they just sweep that away. Is that just convenient for the narrative?
No, I think what happened is the first appearance he thought was a dream. The second appearance confirmed he's still alive. He's trapped in subspace or whatever, but they think he's connected to the station. So Jake is forced to leave the station when the Klingons take over, and he figures that's it. He's never going to see his father again, so he can get on with his life. And he shows up on Earth. It's like, well, I have to save him. What else is he going to do? He knows his dad is alive. He's trapped in subspace, somehow connected to Jake, to himself. So he gives up writing and starts trying to find a way to rescue his father. I think that's why he can't let go. He did let go when he was forced to leave DS9 and move to Earth. But as soon as there's another chance to save him, that's when he gets back into that determined mode to rescue Ben from the subspace dimension.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's just also like it's sort of like it didn't even say it, and it's like older Jake said it, that knowing that he's alive but trapped out there somewhere almost made it worse. Like if it had just been that he could have that he knew he was dead, he could have moved on. But the fact that he kept coming back, it was like I think it was kind of torturous for him knowing that his father was in this existence that he can't he keeps coming back. So it's like he knows that it's connected with him somehow. He's going to keep coming back. So it's like every time he wants to move on, it's like, but one of these days my father can just come back, and I'm how can I move on? He's living this way. I need to try to get him out of this somehow or resolve this. So I think that the knowing that he's there and helpless to do anything about it. I know I couldn't stand it knowing that. I mean, my mother, she passed away, and it tortured me because she died of cancer, and it came back really quick, and it hurt so much knowing that I couldn't do anything to help her, and I just I was at a point where it's I want her to move on because she's ready, it's I mean, as much as I would love to have her back in my life, especially now, because it would be great to have her be a grandmother to my son, but I was kind of glad that I want her pain to go away. That's what I cared more about, was that I want her to be at peace. So you don't want to see especially someone who raised you your whole life, you don't want to see them hurt or tortured somewhere. I think that's also the other level of that.
When I read that in your notes, Chris, I was like, how could he ever let him go? I don't understand how you would even ask that question.
I wouldn't say let him go. I not forget about him and just go on with your life, but I mean, grieving is a process, and there should be an end to that process. That's a healthy part of moving on is just part of the process of grief, because you have to. What's the alternative? Mm-hmm. And it seems like Jake picked the unhealthy option here, and I guess it's just not. I'm more in Ben's shoes here. This is not what I want to see for Jake.
Yeah.
Someone who's burgeoning, their talent is coming to the fore. They're starting to make a name for themselves, and then all of a sudden, it all gets derailed by this same tragedy that defined his life. I mean, Jake gets over Jennifer's death. Eventually, he grows to love Cassidy. They embrace each other's new family. He's got a new brother on the way. You know, he's able to do that with Jennifer, even though in hindsight, we know that. Why can't he also do it with Ben? And I realized that the whole episode was predicated on this deep bond that they share as father-son, which I know is one of the stipulations that Avery had going in, was that there's going to be a relationship. He's not going to just be this absentee dad. So yeah, that plays right into the DS9 themes and everything they wanted the show to be, which is why it's so strong. I just feel like poor Jake gets shortchanged here, even though it's an alternate timeline that we know is going to end with Cisco coming back and the reset button being pushed, and it doesn't make a difference. It still presses all your buttons. Yeah. So it could just be me lamenting like Ben does Jake's sacrifices.
As a parent, I totally understand Ben's opinion, because he quickly was made aware of the situation, understood the situation. As a parent, and I think Mike and Damon probably agree with me, when that happens, you understand that you don't matter anymore. All that matters is your kid. So Ben didn't care if he was stuck in limbo or going to float around forever. He wanted his son. I'll be okay. He wanted his son to live his life, because that's all he cared about. But I understand from Jake's point of view, he didn't have that relationship. He never did have a child. So the only bond he had really was with his dad. And, you know, in this life, yes, you have friends. Yes, you have family. Yes, you have buddies. But there's only maybe one or two people that you connect with. And, I mean, O'Brien couldn't even get to save Ben from whatever this was. And the only one who couldn't give up was Jake. So I understand both sides.
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking about it from Ben's point of view too. Mm-hmm. I mean, did all this happen for him in the space of like 10 minutes? He never aged. No time seemed to be passing for him. So was this one concurrent flash after another? Was there any time for him to ruminate in that limbo? Or was it just like this and it was over for him?
I feel like time didn't pass in limbo, really, except when Jake was in there with him because of the tether, the connection. Other than that, he was just skipping from one time to another time to another time. But he very much understood what was going on. So it reminds me of Fringe, you know, how the guy wouldn't let his son go even though he died. So he destroyed multiverses to get his son back, to get Joshua Jackson back, you know, and that's what you would do. Like sometimes I just tell Rennie, you know, I would just destroy the multiverse to save you. And that's what that love is, you know, that bond between a parent and child, whoever that might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'd be interesting if we could get the Cisco, but then the episode would be 14 seconds long. So,
as a writer, Chris, but I want to ask, one, the writing of this episode, and two, the writing about being a writer. How do you feel about that, and how is the life of a writer depicted?
It's funny you ask that. It's kind of tough to have writers write about writing and make it compelling. I think one of the more compelling instances I've seen of that was probably Misery by Stephen King, where his main character is a writer. Not so successful in The Shining because Jack was always a jerk anyway, so you didn't really feel that much for him. I think this one did it okay because it was such a secondary part of the story. It was an entree into, it was part of the framing device of the story. And that was fine. I mean, where else would you expect Jake to be? Because at this point, he says that he wants to be a writer. He's got this potential fellowship. to the Pennington Institute or something like that. I believe that's what they said in the show. And I know they established that before. It was a big deal that he got accepted into it and whether or not he was going to go. So it's just a natural extension of the character to have him wind up there. And the fact that he's only written the 2 books, that's a way for them to hook you in to say, what's going on here? Where are we? What happened, Jake? What's, you know, it's a way to bring you to the character where you know he's at, to get you involved, and then to sort of turn the tables. So as just speaking as a writer, as a device, as a hook to pull in, they did it just right, because they didn't reinvent Jake somehow where he's like an international man of mystery because he's looking for his dad. He's the person who we expected him to be, but something has gone tragically wrong. And that's much more poignant. That's much more interesting, especially if you're invested in the character and the way he is. I think that's why we like alternate timeline episodes so much, because we're so used to the characters the way they are. To see them cast in a different light, slightly off, is very intriguing, because you just think, what could have happened had 2 or 3 different choices been made? Where would they be now? So, and that could just be me. That could be a particular subgenre that I find fascinating. But given the number of Star Trek stories that do that, I don't think I'm the only one. And they do that here with the alternate timeline. I want to talk about that a little bit. So thanks for the segue, because I feel like, maybe because I knew how this was going to end, but you also know going in that there's going to be a reset button no matter what. You know, they're not getting rid of Cisco. This is not where it ends.
This isn't Babylon 5 or something like that.
Yeah. Seeing them commit to a very DS9 complicated political, even though a lot of it was shorthand, keeping all of like the complex social machinations intact, the geopolitical, even though it's not geo, what, spatio-political, quadro-political, I guess, I don't stuff, and really playing off that, extrapolating off that again, where DS9 is now at this point in its run, with the Klingons now sort of turning into enemies again, and having conversations like this. It's like when Star Wars drops into trade negotiations and, you know, Empire talk, they're on Tatooine discussing politics. It's just like DS9 excels at that, and they really commit to it in this storyline. And again, they use it to great effect, because it's what forces Jake to move on. The geo quadro political situation is bigger than he is, and you got to skedaddle, kid. Yeah. And you would expect something like that on DS9, and it took me a second to get into it, because one of the things that you think about, you guys tell me if you agree with this, when you think about DS9, you love watching it in the moment, but sometimes you think back to, oh, all this Bajoran bullshit. Okay, all right. It becomes like that memory, that heaviness becomes a barrier to a rewatch. So I hadn't seen, you know, this episode in a long time. I hadn't been in that part of the series in a long time, like in my headspace. So it's just like, oh, I gotta recalibrate my brain. They're gonna go with even with the alternate timeline. We got to get into this much detail. I guess we do. Do you guys find that as an issue with DS9? Not so much in the watching, but in the idea of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe a little. It's that could be part of the reason why I haven't committed to like a full on rewatch, because I got to really pay attention to everything again. Like that's why I said at the beginning, like, this episode is like, there's not much of that, so you can kind of step away from that for this one, which is why I always come back to it. But I get it a little bit. It gets pretty heavy with the mythology at some point. It's like, man, I gotta like really pay attention to everything, and all like 30 different subplots going on. Yeah.
No, that never bothered me at all. It's part of the appeal. Well, I've rewatched it so many times.
Yeah, I think me and Mike were talking about this while we were setting up equipment and listening to Christmas music. Deep Space Nine, I love it. But if I'm going to watch Deep Space Nine, I'm going to watch it for 3 months straight. Yeah, that's what I'm watching. Yeah. I can't just jump in and out. I did with this one, and some other ones I can, when I just want a good cry, or there's an adventure that I love, or one particular one. But I feel like just watching one here and there, I'm not giving it what it deserves. It deserves me to take it seriously and commit to the rewatch. So yeah, it is a little bit intimidating because I might have watched it more if I didn't have that feeling.
I mean,
Yeah, but it's always compelling in the moment, though. In context, it's always really engaging. It's just when you take it out of that context.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're gonna jump in, you're not gonna feel the same feel as if you went along with it the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, I love the show. It's my favorite one, and I want to watch the whole thing again because of all of that. It's just it's intimidating at the same time.
Right. We've seen it all. It's still intimidating.
Right. But I still want to do a full on rewatch of the show. Like my Amada, my wife is really not into Star Trek. She's like, I told her you would be into this because of all of the politics and the religious stuff. Like,
yes, she would.
There's issues going on in the show that you would really be into if you got into it. So
yeah.
Was this like the first television show that was really like the groundwork for all television shows afterwards with the whole series arc kind of thing? Before that, I think I remember television just being episodic.
I think that they credit BS9 with that, but they kind of came in concurrently, but didn't. Isn't that the whole thing? Like Straczynski pitched.
Oh, Babylon 5, yeah.
I'm sorry, B5. Yeah. Did I say DS9?
Yeah.
I meant B5.
Okay.
So I think B5 is maybe credited with kicking it off, but it was after Straczynski pitched the idea to Star Trek, and then all of a sudden DS9 comes along.
Yeah.
So maybe one got out of the gate a little bit quicker. Yeah. But if you're going to talk about what maybe had a broader social impact, I gotta think that Star Trek was more watched than B5 in first run syndication. That's just my Star Trek bias.
They're both better than the other B5 one in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're both as good. I'd say.
I mean, you're talking about just like in general, like getting more into serialization than episodic television.
Yeah.
In general, I feel like maybe X-Files was kind of delving into that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a big one.
That kind of I feel like a little bit they and then like once Lost happened, that was it.
Yeah. Lost changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Lost was 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
2004.
Lost was years
later.
after this.
That's why I said I think X-Files kind of like the late 90s was where that was all like, I mean, mid to late 90s, I think was kind of.
Later X-Files, not
Yeah.
like the first 2 or 3 seasons was extremely episodic.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the first rewatches I did on X-Files, I guess maybe it was because the movie was coming out, Sci-Fi, or maybe it was Fox.
It's a human skull.
Did a whole thing about, trace the conspiracy, basically. And they played all of, like, basically, I think they were the Purity episodes in X-Files in the beginning where they were following really the thread of the mythology. And it was one of the first shows that had like an ongoing mythology that was woven into the more episodic features of it. Supernatural did that very well as well. But Supernatural came again a little later, I think 2001.
Tell me Supernatural gets better. I keep trying to start it, but I can't get into it.
We're rounding out the end of episode of season 14 now.
Is there a hot chick in it anywhere?
Yeah, every episode has a hot chick,
but like the same one.
His name is Sam Winchester.
Ah, okay. like women weren't allowed on the show, as far as I understand, unless they're a ghost or something. I just want someone to have a crush
my wife
on.
Is loving it. So
okay, well there you go.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about. I know I got a couple more things to talk about, and we'll do that, and we'll come back after the break and talk about more about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor. We'll be right back. And we're back! Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us through those ads and or 2 seconds of black screen, depending on your plan with YouTube. I don't see ads. I can't do it! Can't do it. What are you guys drinking tonight?
Just water.
I had some coffee before, but
Altair water.
Altair water. Mike?
Bubbly cola type drink.
Bubbly cola. I have some iced tea with sucralose and lemon going on. I just finished working on a purple Powerade Zero. And I got a Publix Diet Cola because it's made with sucralose.
Do you ever just put just water in your body?
I've tried it.
You ever drink anything that's not pure garbage?
And then I have a Diet Coke, but that's only for really backup. And if my blood sugar bottoms out, of course, I got the real stuff.
Yeah. No hot tea by a warm fire tonight, though.
Hot tea.
No.
Tea Earl Grey hot. Have you tried tea Earl Grey iced? It's pretty good.
No.
All right,
No,
we're back.
perhaps I will.
We're talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor, but you probably know that by now. One thing that struck me, because before I do these shows, I usually listen to the episode once. Because I'll watch it a few times, but it's cool to listen to it because you actually notice different things. I noticed the music in this was lovely.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on the music for this episode?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that always stood out to me was the score on this. Like just the opening moments of it too. It's like the only other time they did this whole thing was in the final episode with Ben talking with Cassidy, right, in the wormhole, because it was like that same kind of feeling. Like, and I remember hearing that at the end. I'm like, oh my god, it's the Visitor music. Oh, like it pulled on my heartstrings again. Like, I love the score on this one. That's part of what made me cry. Is just it's just done so well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not something that I noticed. Maybe because I haven't seen. Usually, I don't grok to a score unless I've seen an episode like 85 times, because then it just becomes ingrained in me. Like there are episodes of Quantum Leap where I know like every musical cue.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them so often. This is maybe the third time I've seen this episode, maybe the fourth time in 20 years, 25 years. You know, so. Yeah, I haven't watched it enough to get to love the score, but it's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I didn't notice it consciously anyway.
To me, it like I said, listening helps. That was the thing I did as a kid. I would record episodes on audio cassette, besides the video cassettes like Damon did as well. But I think it's like it shows that this is one of the reasons this episode is so good. Is it's just like everybody nailed it. I know you don't like Tony Todd, Chris, but but I think, in my opinion, everybody nailed it and did their job. Michael Taylor, of course, for writing such a wonderful script, and then David Livingston for directing it. I want to talk about Michael Taylor. He did 4 episodes of Deep Space Nine, The Visitor, Things Past, which is the one where Sisko, Odo, and Dax and Garrick are trapped 7 years in the past on Terek Nor.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Resurrection, an alternate version of Vedic Burial, arrives from the mirror universe seeking refuge. That one I don't remember really. And of course,
I think it was their first mirror universe episode. I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Maybe I could be wrong on that. But.
Okay, I love those. Intendant Kira. Hello.
Those blend in for me after a while because they did it like every year, and it was like okay, you're doing this.
It never got old to me.
No.
And all of a sudden, Ezri is there.
Yeah.
Ezri. In the Pale Moonlight, of course, in the Pale Moonlight. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, Sisko soon learns that to save the Federation, he may have to betray the values it stands for. It's a fake. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So that's a standout. I think it was Steve Shives, when I was watching that, he said that people, when you ask them their favorite Deep Space Nine, The Visitor, and In the Pale Moonlight, they're very way up there, and it's amazing that Michael Taylor wrote both of those.
Yeah.
I mean, they're at least as good as Spock's brain.
Brain. What is brain?
It's brain and brain. What is brain?
Oh, brain and brain. I'll work on it. Voyager, you wrote Once Upon a Time. Love that one. Counterpoint, don't know. Pride of Chaotica, very fun. The Fight, I think is that the one where Chakotay is a boxer, maybe? The Disease, no clue. Think Tank, that was pretty good. That was the one with Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
Someone to Watch Over Me. That's my favorite episode of Voyager. Probably one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek of all time. Someone to Watch Over Me. It's really good. Worth the watch. Relativity. Warhead. Dragon's Teeth. Alice. Alice is a creepy one. Like when you're like half awake, half asleep. Sleep in the Voyager. Watching Alice, it's like creepy. One Small Step. Blink of an Eye. Collection. Fury. The one where Kes comes back. Drive. Body and Soul, Shattered, Workforce Part 2. I like both the workforces. And Friendship 1. So what I'm noticing in a lot of his writings is like things that are not the standard Star Trek episode. Like he has these characters to play with, and he says, I can tell any story with these guys, and he does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think he's written enough Star Trek.
You mentioned Fury.
Not as much as
Unfortunately,
others.
I haven't seen most of his yeah.
Where's he been lately?
Yeah,
that I didn't
what's
copy
he done
paste.
to me lately?
So I don't know. Somebody might have to research that, like Mike.
Tell us down below.
Comment
Yeah.
down below. Let us know.
Oh, and you
But-
mentioned Fury, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Castle came back. Oh, no. I'd rather forget.
Yeah. That's another one with old age makeup. Maybe that's his go-to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's on his clipboard. At least he didn't write too short a season.
Well, speaking of old age,
Yeah.
what did you guys think of the alternate timeline? I was curious to know because these uniforms that we see, they're the monochromatic uniforms.
Yeah.
With the simple line on the top, ill-fitting, and the future Delta that we've seen a few times with the two bars behind it, the two oblong, weird-looking bars. Were these the same episodes that showed up in the Voyager finale as they aged them? Because I feel like I've seen these uniforms before.
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
Mike, where have we seen those before?
Yeah, there was a DS9 episode, and I'm trying to remember exact plot, but Jadzia and or Julian both are aged, or one of them is aged. I can't quite. It's been a while since I've watched it, obviously, but they do have the same that same insignia, the comm badge, I guess, and the same monochromatic uniform. Was it in All Good Things?
Yeah, it was in All Good Things. That badge was in All Good Things on Next Gen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of a standard future thing, not the future imperfect one, because that's
I gotta
different
think-
again.
Maybe the comm badges are more expensive to recreate than, a knock-together uniform, too.
Wonder if they had the old age makeup for Julian and Jadzia already, and that's why they did that. Maybe.
I think they aged Nog pretty well, too.
Yes.
It's a little more subtle. But you see a lot more, like, lining in his cheeks and stuff. And there's something, again, Aaron, is he born to play Nog?
Yeah.
We talk about, like, Shatner born to play Kirk. But there's just some kind of presence that guy had whenever, even, he's the smallest guy in the room, but he just had, like, this bearing about him. Like, you bought him as Captain Nog. I mean, this is the kid, again, with shenanigans on the promenade. I have no problem seeing him commanding the Defiance.
Aaron was amazing, and I don't think it's
weird.
I don't think it's just because we lost him that we give him that much more credit. I think because It's Only a Paper Moon was way before we lost him, and you can't get through it. Allergies again. But it's one of those things, like when we lost Aaron, that's the episode I watched that night, and I just could not keep it together. Great work.
So, great work. And I think that this is one of I think Julian's makeup was worse than Terry's. I think Terry's makeup was pretty good.
Yeah.
They had a weird, like, crease on Sid's nose. It was
Well, that's another thing I thought of. Like, for every good outcome, there's a bad outcome. Yes, we didn't lose Ben, but we lost Jadzia. There's no old Jadzia. We lose Jadzia and get Esri.
That's right.
true. Did they intimate here that Jadzia and Julian wound up together?
It seemed like
I
it.
was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Bickering like an old married couple.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were. Yeah.
It wasn't flat out stated. What happened to O'Brien? Was he caught in some kind of transporter buffer somewhere waiting to be rediscovered? Like, why wasn't he on the?
That's funny.
Yep.
They were getting the band back together.
That's the thing I don't understand. O'Brien gave up on Cisco and couldn't figure it out. He couldn't go like that on the thing and make the thing come back. That's one of the only parts I don't buy about the episode is that Miles wasn't able to save Ben.
He was about to try a transporter lock in sickbay, and then
that didn't work, and the containment field that didn't work. You can't fight chronotons, man.
Yeah,
and he's too busy with his own family. I mean,
that's what I was thinking, Damon.
Yeah,
right. He's got 2 kids. He's probably got grandkids at this point, maybe even a 3rd kid.
Well, but I mean, right away, once they knew that he was really floating around out there somewhere, like Kirk in that one episode, Tholian Webb, right? Once he knew he was out there, I don't believe that, because you know how Miles's brain works. He can just connect the thing with the thing.
Well, maybe because the whole thing was going on with the Klingons. Maybe he got like I'm blanking on what he got redirected. Maybe like somewhere else. It wasn't on
Reassigned.
Like,
Yeah.
reassigned.
Redeployed.
Yeah, maybe he got reassigned somewhere. And
Maybe they didn't like it. Maybe he didn't like him. Maybe he was like, good. Yeah, right.
Probably didn't have enough to go on because he just reappeared for 10 minutes and then was gone
Yeah.
again. And
Well, and they did give us that thing where it was like every 50 years or something, right?
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah, so,
wormhole
I mean,
inversion was every 50 years. Yeah.
And I don't think it's once every 50 years. I think it's a little bit every 50 years because he came back right around the same early time a few months later, right? But then it was at 50 years. So then Jake's probably like 65, 67, 69. Nice. But then he's like 120.
Yeah.
I was a little
so-
unclear on that because he kept coming back but said it wouldn't undergo another inversion. It's like, so what was going on the other times he appeared? I didn't think it did that every single time.
It didn't
was a
have to do
little
with the
unclear.
inversions. It was his connection to Jake.
Mm-hmm.
It was that elasticity or
like it.
whatever he talked about that was,
Because they were both shocked at the same time, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think I mentioned in the Nitpicker's Guide to Deep Space Nine was that even though they only discovered the wormhole a few years before, they knew that it went through this every 50-year cycle or something.
Yeah.
Right.
That didn't really make sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, Chris, you already mentioned what bumped you about the episode. What about you guys? I could say for me, the one of the things that bumps me is the shoulder pads. Tony Todd shoulder pads when he's 120 years old. I understand why, because like to look older and less bulky, they give you bigger clothes to make you look older. I think that's why the ill-fitting uniforms on Jadzia and Julian, because you look smaller when you wear bigger clothes.
Right.
So I think that's what they're doing with the shoulder pads, but it really didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Damon, Mike, things that bumped you?
I don't know if it bumped me necessarily, but like poor Michael Dorn, like he had just come on the show and this didn't showcase him much at all. Like
Yeah.
what do we do with him? Because it's like they probably wrote this without him, and then suddenly he shows up in the show, and it's like, well, whatever.
Well, yeah, he was just in that one scene with Kira, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of much that bumps me though. I mean,
No.
yeah, not really.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
It's weird when I remember this episode, even right after watching it, I forget that everybody else is in it because like my brain goes, oh, they all had the week off, because
Yeah.
like that little bit on the station doesn't really mean anything as much as the big storyline. Of course, there's the whole Jake wanting to stay, not wanting to go. Have you guys ever been in that place where like Jake just doesn't want to leave because that's where his memories are and he doesn't want to move on, but then he does move on?
Yeah.
I feel like every job I've ever had, I stayed at too long. So there are points where, because the devil, is, but at the same time, Jake had an extra reason for this. It literally was the only home he knew up till that point. I mean, we don't really see where they were before Wolf 359, but he was he was 5 years old, 6 years old.
Yeah, he was young.
He was a really young kid, so I don't know.
Go on,
I could see it more in this case where Jake had more of an excuse to be adrift in that place.
I mean, now that I think about it, maybe that's the only thing that bumps me is that we could have seen a little bit more of what everybody was doing in the future. I mean, even though it was Jake centric, really centering around them, but we didn't see much of, like, other than Julian and Jadzia, really. Like, we didn't get much of anybody else.
But the story's being told from the perspective of old Jake.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not part of the story. It's
Right.
not part of what he's telling Melanie.
Right. And it makes a lot of sense that we don't see Kira again after they leave the station, because again, the situation in that quadrant and Bejor and the wormhole, they had to pull strings and take the Defiant out of mothballs. Why did they need to use the Defiant? I guess to recreate the accident. And why did it's just because that's the prop that they had. That's the CGI that they had. So instead of having to make another ship. But, it's also fun to think, why isn't O'Brien there? Maybe he cashiered out. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's happy living on Earth with his mom's replicated haggis. I don't know. And Julian was always going to stay in Starfleet because that's where the action is when it comes to the forefront of medicine, being on the cutting edge. And Dax is Dax. I mean, Dax will, I think, always be somewhere where she's again in the center of it all, or he or they, depending on what version of Dax we have. So to me, that made a lot of sense because I think that Dax and Julian would be there. Julian would want to take care of Ben as a patient. Dax would want to see her best friend again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
try and keep him away.
If it was more thought out, like they knew Terry wasn't staying, and they like cast Esri then and just had her in that one episode. That would have been amazing.
2 years before the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, you got to wait 2 more years, but you'll be in it.
Yeah, it's pretty precious.
The only other thing, but that's something Babylon 5 would do. So
Yeah, exactly.
but the only other thing that kind of bumped me was the timing, and I don't know if it was the director or the editor, because I don't think it was a writer or the actors, because this isn't controlled by them, but maybe the director or the editor combination. But the whole scene where Ben asks Jake to get the compensator,
Yeah.
like, can you get the compensator? And it's like 10 feet from him, and there's like a good 45 seconds, a minute, and he's just standing there waiting for the compensator. I think anybody in that situation would just go run over and get the compensator.
Yes. Good point.
Like I could see him saying, "Grab it for me," but once he's not grabbing it, you gotta take over and go get it.
Yeah.
He couldn't find it. I mean, he did eventually.
Yeah, but Ben's just standing there. What's he doing?
Yeah, he was just standing there, right? Like just trying to hold it together. Good
Editing mistake, directing
So
combination.
you're saying it could have been cut better?
Yes. Give me 30 seconds less, and it's perfect.
Okay, that's what she said. We have a revelation about Melanie. Melanie, the ingenue that just shows up at Jake's door in the middle of the night. I love your writing. Damon, you figured this out.
Yeah. I because I was Googling it when I was looking up the actresses, and I was like, I did not realize that is Andrew Robinson's daughter. She's
Me neither.
And now I see the
Robinson as
resemblance.
Melanie. Yeah.
I see it in the eye.
Yeah, I went to type that in, and you had already done it. And I was like, damn it. But once I found that out, I couldn't unsee it. It just looks like a mini Andy Robinson.
Yeah, what's her name? It's
Rachel.
Rachel Robinson. Yeah.
Robinson.
Rachel Robinson.
Yeah.
She's done other things, but not too much. So is that every writer's dream, Chris?
Oh, what, to have a sexy young thing come and tell you how amazing you are? No, that's nobody's dream anywhere, Albie.
I have to apologize because instead you get this fat guy waiting for you in the subway, lost reading your book. Your biggest fan shows up. You meet him in an airport in Texas, and he bear hugs you. Sorry about that.
You don't have to be sorry. We're still here. See, that's it. All led to this. This isn't this is the right timeline. This isn't the alternate timeline. Not that we know of yet.
Not that we know. Well, I think we're in the bad timeline.
But not for you and me.
No. Okay. Anybody else got any thoughts before we go to all our fun things we do and our final thoughts and wrap ups and stuff like that?
Well, speaking about that engineering part there, I like how Sisko just rolls with Jake showing up. He told him to stay in the quarters, but then Jake comes into engineering, and instead of scolding him or lecturing him there, he's just like, go get me that compensator. Like, you're here, you got to help. The lecture can wait till later, but...
But he just lectured him about picking his head up and, experiencing life.
Well,
And now he's telling him, okay, stay here.
That's another point of the episode that we haven't really talked about. It's that whole thing where you always think you have all the time in the world, especially as a kid.
Yeah.
Like you won't spend time with your dad. You're out, chasing tail or whatever kids call it now. And you always think there's going to be more time later, but one day there's no more time.
Yeah.
Right.
And like me being a parent, I try to convey that to Rennie sometimes when she's scrolling on YouTube Shorts or something. And I'm like, spend some time with your dad while you can.
Yeah.
But there's no way to comprehend it until it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mike, you had something
luckily,
there.
or if you age, I spend as much time with my parents as I can now.
That's awesome.
I'm still lucky enough to have them. We've been reinstituted Sunday dinner as a thing in my house. Like everybody gets together every Sunday now.
Nice. Yeah.
So
and you're
it's
mature enough to appreciate it, I think, right?
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, you grow to appreciate what it is that you actually still have. So you make the most of it while you can. So again, knock wood.
Yeah, I'm so happy for y'all. I think the only other point that I had, I'm sorry if I'm hogging the conversation. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
The only other point I had was that I don't think I mentioned is maybe one of the reasons why Jake felt like he couldn't let go was he felt kind of responsible in a way, because he couldn't find the compensator, and he thought, and when you lose someone, you're always thinking, if I did this one thing different, it could have been different. He wouldn't have died. It would have been uncompensated or compensated for before that would have happened. So he blames himself. So it's like survivor's guilt kind of thing as well, maybe.
I think that's good, and it's actually, if you're going to be like more of a nuanced thing that's not said, but also a strength of the episode, if he is blaming himself, he never comes out and says that I'm blaming myself, and you can also see as an objective observer that there was nothing he could have done differently that would have saved Ben from that pulse hitting him. Nobody would have expected anything like that. I don't know, again, it's just a device to get the story moving, but if you're going to look at it with Jake's future regrets, yeah, that could be one thing that he's torturing himself over as well. I wonder if there's any part of that in like a version of the script where he laments that maybe I could have done something differently. I don't recall him saying anything like that in this episode. He's just hell-bent on getting Ben back.
Yeah.
So.
I just felt it. So, but maybe that's because the writing, the acting, the situation.
Yeah.
But also, I experienced that in my real life. A little aside, I've never spoken about this publicly, or I think to any other human. But the reason my dad died was sepsis and complications of sepsis, and he had gotten a colonoscopy. And I had no idea what sepsis was. He had no idea what sepsis was. And, I think they give you the form that you sign that you understand what sepsis was, but I don't think he understood what sepsis was. So, like the evening he called me, and he called me for medical advice. Don't ever do that. But he called me for medical advice, and he's like, I don't feel myself. I don't feel quite right. I think I should go to the hospital. And, I was young. I was young 30s, in the honeymoon stage of a relationship, and I just wanted to go on that date I had planned and spend some time with a young woman and, get laid and, just what young guys do. And I said, well, and I was dismissive, and I said, let's sleep on it tonight. And if you're still feeling bad in the morning, I'll take you to the doctor or the hospital, whatever you need, and I was just trying to be like Jake in this episode where he's writing his book and he's not wanting to spend time with his dad because he's super focused on the one thing. And then that night I got a call about, 3, 4 in the morning. I don't really remember now. The ambulance came, took him away. He's in the emergency room and he's dying of sepsis. And they had to work on him for quite a while. After that, he was never the same. He got a bad infection. That is an infection, but like it infected him and he swelled up and he had so much extra weight on him, like a swelling water weight or something. And he was older, so he couldn't support himself. So then he needed help, and then he needed to go into a home, and then just downhill and all after that. So I carry that blame. Like, what if I just said, okay, I'll be right over. I'll take you to the hospital.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I got that out of this episode. I read things into things.
I'd say that's, based on your life experience, perfectly logical thing for you to do here. I'm so sorry to hear about all that, Albie.
Just more and more reasons why I love this episode and that I'm emotional about the episode. I just, never shared that with anybody. I figured I'd share it with you guys. All right. What else do we have? What's the 47 in this episode, Chris?
Jake is reading file 4747 on his pad. And someone wrote the Commodore by C.S. Foster.
Have you ever read that? That sounds, I know C.S. Foster, but I've never read the Commodore.
Forster. I've never heard of C.S. Forster. I just C.S. Lewis.
So maybe that's not real. Maybe it meant to sound real.
Oh, is that what he was reading on the pad? Did you
Yeah,
freeze it?
he was reading his book.
Oh, okay.
So why do we even look for the 47? I don't know.
I don't either, but at least they had 47.
So it was there twice. It was pretty obvious. I saw it the first time.
Who was the episode crush, Albie?
It's got to be Garrick Jr. What's her name? The young ingenue. I think everything that Jake writes.
Melanie.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say we're all in agreement. I don't want to speak for Damon.
Damon, your crush.
It's a toss up between her and Jake's wife. Yeah, it's a toss up between the both of them.
They're both cute.
Yeah, kind of equal, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But both in
Your
their
crush
own
as
way.
well, Mike, or
Yeah, Garrick's daughter. Yep.
it's weird because I thought she was so beautiful and sexy, but now that she looks like Andy Robinson, it's like weird. That happens with a lot of people, you know. Daughters end up looking like their dads sometimes. Chris, your crush as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, from the second he opened the door, I was like, "Who is that? Who is that vision?" She's just so goddamn cute. You know, at first I thought that she was the one who was on Enterprise in season 1 and 2 with the recurring role. I always blank on her name. And she wasn't. She was crewman. She was crewman Cutler.
Crewman Cutler. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the actress died.
Yeah.
A few years after having that role, yeah. But they all loved her. They were going to bring her back and everything, but it was just they lost her tragically.
Sad
but
face.
she had kind of the same vibe.
Yeah.
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 And
I
she was a
saw
good
that
actress
too.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so sort of crewman Cutler, but a little bit hotter, quite frankly.
Is that a trope? Is there a lot of stories about writers that someone comes to, you know, their biggest fan looks them up? Because the video game I played, Vertigo, that was the main plot. Hot chick comes and visits her favorite author in a cabin in the woods.
Again, like I said, this is all wish fulfillment for bored writers. So I mean, if you're gonna write about what you're fantasizing about, I guess.
I guess I have that a little bit. Like I want, you know, hot chicks to come up to me and go, "I love your podcast," which only happens in New Hampshire, though.
That happened to me in New York City when we saw The Connected for the first time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very attractive woman. I was just talking to the beautiful John Irons.
The beautiful John Irons.
And someone behind me says, "Are you Chris? Are you Chris T. Philippus?" And I'm like, "Are you on crack? How do you even know who I guess you recognize my voice from the podcast."
Wow.
Yeah. So we got a picture together. So
Yeah, the
it's
woman.
flattering anyway.
It is the woman that came up to me in New Hampshire. You were there that night or no?
I might have missed that one.
Oh yeah, she came up to me and she said, "Are you Albie?" And I said, "Yes." And she's like, "I love your work," and I was so confused. Like, what? What do I do? What did I do? And she's like, "You're from the Quantum Leap podcast, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I don't know why I didn't think that people going to see Scott Bakula would listen to our podcast, but it was nice. But nobody ever showed up at my house. Yeah,
That was Listen Linda.
Yet.
that would have
Yeah.
been cool.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
No, it's funny because the girl who I met at the Connector she also sent us a card to the podcast. So she was a fan, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, it was really cool. It was nice so it's always fun to meet a fan. I
Yeah.
just don't know if, you know, some stranger no matter how cute she is, knocking on my door at midnight in the rain, claiming to be lost, like lying, coming in under false pretenses. Oh, I lied. You're Jake Sisko, and now I'm in your house. Like combat police.
Yeah,
You know?
but
Click your medical bracelet, Jake.
I think the reason he let her in was he just took poison. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Right? He dies a few minutes earlier.
He did say any other night.
But he's got to see Ben before he dies, so
That's
she could
true,
really
right.
screw up the
Yeah.
timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, he did say
That's
any
true.
other night I would have told you to leave or whatever. But
does.
I
Yeah.
need to tell
Yeah.
the story of all nights. I need to tell the story.
Right. I need to have one last boner.
Right.
Favorite part of the episode.
Mike.
Favorite part. Oh, I don't know. That's hard to nail down. I do like, okay, I'm going to say back when I was doing a lot of writing for Quantum Leap, the virtual seasons, I received similar advice that Ben gives to Jake toward the start of the episode where he says, I'm no writer, but if I were, it seems to me I'd want to poke my head up every once in a while and take a look around and see what's going on. It's life, Jake. You can miss it if you don't open your eyes. And that's solid advice, not just for anyone who's absorbed in writing. It's, yeah, if you get too into your project, you need to go out into the world and experience it for inspiration for whatever you're working on. And it's not that I didn't do that, but I was getting very very much, I need to get this story done. It's like, no, go out, take a walk, experience life. It will inspire you to add better content to your writing. But I guess just the whole that whole father-son dynamic that is really on display throughout the whole episode is I guess my favorite part. Like it goes back to what you said, Albie. Avery said it has to be a positive, father-son role model in this series, because up until then a lot of aside from maybe the Cosby Show, like a lot of the black fathers on TV were not present in the children. So this was this was a solid example of what Avery wanted to see with that relationship.
Very good example of a parent.
Yeah.
A single parent. And that's another thing that hits me hard.
Exactly, yes.
Being a single parent.
Yeah.
When the other parent leaves, whether to their own, because they want to or because they have no choice, it's rough on the people that's left behind.
Yeah.
Damon.
Yeah. I had seen Mike had that before. I was going to point that out, and I was like, I didn't want to steal his thunder with that, but I think my favorite part is kind of what I also wanted to bring up was even just like the final moment with Jake and Ben, and you see like again what it's either or, like what would a father not do for his son, and also like what would the son not do for the father. And it's like you can tell Ben is so like heartbroken, like you could have lived your life, and like he wanted him to move on, and he's trying to tell him, it's like, you didn't realize I needed you. Like, I'm doing this for you and for the boy that I was. He needs you more than you could know. That's where I tear up every time. I'm like, he needs you. You don't realize how much he needed you, how much I needed you. And it's like, oh, like, yeah. That to me, I think, was where it was like really hit me. Especially now being a father, it's like I can't imagine. Like I come home every day from work, and my son is there. He's like daddy, like this is like I can't imagine what it would be like if he didn't have me. I think about all these moments where it's like, oh, life is tough, and maybe he'd be better off without me. But no, he needs me. So that resonates with me now.
It's a special bond. I think that's one of the reasons I quit my job I had for decades, was because every time I went to work, I cried because I missed my kid.
Yeah.
I wanted to be with my kid, so I figured out how to work at home so I could, experience my kid's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to echo what you said, Damon, a little bit. Similar part of the scene, but different part of the scene. The happy part. I don't know if Avery Brooks was a father or not. I don't ever remember hearing about kids or family, his personal life, really. But that look, that smile when Ben is just watching Jake sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so happy. And it's just, it's one of those joys that you get, I think the old joke was, oh, she's so cute and happy when she's asleep.
Yeah.
But just as a parent, you watch your kid sleep and you're just amazed by it. I know it's all because our brains make us think that because that's the way our species survives, but I love it. And I love that scene. And I think Avery nailed that smile, that look. So that's going to be my favorite part. Chris.
My favorite part's one of the sadder parts, but it rips me up every time. And Tony Todd emulates it a bit, but Sirach just nails it when... Okay, allergies. when he's in sickbay, and it's the second time he sees him, and again, no dialogue at all. Jake just breaks down.
Yeah.
And they hug, and wow.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, wow. So, I mean, and I gotta say, Mike, I'm not saying that your part wasn't good, but didn't that remind you a little bit of the end of Ferris Bueller? When he said that, all I could think of was Matthew Broderick looking to the camera saying life goes by pretty fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was a good line. It was a good line. So I remembered that. That was another thing that kind of bumped me a little bit. So
Fair enough. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, just the sheer emotional connection that they were able to have. And I think that Tony achieved it as well. And maybe that has to do with Avery, but all the focus wasn't on Avery. It was on Sirach and it was on Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Tony actually learned it from watching Sirach, which is weird because he's the older actor and the more experienced actor. And there's this kid, but I guess he respected, well, this is this kid's character.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
this kid has created this character. I have to extrapolate from there. And he nailed it. So yeah.
So with that, it is time to test the knowledge of Mike Bloxham and Damon Christopher Sugameli.
Yeah.
How's your guys' Star Trek knowledge? Are you up for some trivia?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Are we doing
Right.
3 questions or 6?
I think we're going with 6 questions. We got you each for 3 questions.
3. Okay.
And it
Am
is
I
a
reading
friendly
them?
competition, but we're all working together. So how it's going to happen is it's Damon versus Mike. Christopher DeFilippis is asking the questions. And if both of you guys can't come up with it, I will try to answer it myself. So I'll be for the steal, even though I'm not playing.
I have 2 cards here. 2 cards.
all
What I'm
right.
going to do is just to make it even more fair is I'm going to alternate questions on each card. So you're going to get opposite questions on each. So we'll start with Mike.
Mike.
In Star Trek: The Motion Picture, what piece of equipment allows Spock to leave the Enterprise and mind meld with V'ger?
What piece of equipment? Does he not teleport over with the transporter, I mean?
Sorry, sir. You get a chance to steal, Damon.
I don't know if there was something more specific. I know he was in like a suit. I think he was out there and I
A
don't know if he was
suit
holding
with
like
a suit with.
Oh,
I can't
Let's-
think anything more specific than
it's in
that.
my mind now.
All I know is that he was in a spacesuit, and
I'm gonna give it to you. They call it a thruster suit, but it is a spacesuit.
Thruster
So
suit. That's what she said.
Damon gets 1 for thruster suit.
Yes, I would have said jetpack, but yeah.
Now we're
Yeah.
going on. It's actually Damon's turn. Whose engineering team designed the emergency medical hologram EMH?
Which team?
Whose engineering team designed the EMH?
Yeah.
all I could think of is the actual. Or am I thinking of who it's modeled after, Dr. Zimmerman? That's all I know. That's all I can
So
think of. I
what-
can't think of a team.
What's your answer?
Dr. Zimmerman?
So is your answer?
Dr. Zimmerman?
You're right.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was Zimmerman's
Mr.
team.
Lewis Zimmerman.
Zimmerman's team. Okay. All right.
That's 2 for Damon, none for Mike. Even though I know Mike knew that one. All
Mike
right.
didn't know that one.
Mike, your turn. What is Captain Kirk doing just prior to the Romulan attack in the original series episode Balance of Terror?
Is he officiating a marriage?
He is officiating a marriage, or as I would have said, performing a wedding. But officiating a marriage is a much more. All right. Damon, this one's for you. In the Deep Space Nine episode, The Adversary, the Dominion want to start a war in the Alpha Quadrant because it will make what easier?
Traveling through the wormhole
To what end?
to conquer the Alpha Quadrant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Invasion.
Yeah.
All right. So you got it. All
We
right.
had each of you for 3 questions. I think you each got 1 question left. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, 1 question left each.
All right. What's the
This one is
score?
for Mike. It's 3 Damon, 1 Mike. Mike's got to get the next 2.
All right.
All right. Mike. David Ogden Stiers appears as Timothy in the Next Generation episode Half a Life. On what long-running sitcom did he play Major Winchester?
Damon obviously knows this one.
I'm gonna have to pass. That's
The only other thing he's known for.
before my time.
Really?
Charles Emerson Winchester III.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
That the-
I want to give Mike
Oh, okay.
just name a show from the 70s, Mike.
Oh, the 70s. Geez.
Early 80s,
Think of
maybe.
a hint.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
MASH.
Hey, there you go. All right.
You
Got
got
a
it.
fighting chance to tie it up. If Damon doesn't get this one and you steal.
If he said after MASH, I don't know if I'd give it to him.
Which U.S. Navy aircraft carrier portrayed the then at sea USS Enterprise in the motion picture The Voyage Home? This one's for Damon.
Wasn't the Enterprise?
What was it?
Nuclear vessel.
Repeat the. Am I hearing you right? What?
What U.S. Navy aircraft carrier portrayed the then at sea USS Enterprise in the motion picture The Voyage Home? So I guess they wanted to get the USS Enterprise, the
wasn't-
carrier,
Oh.
but it was at sea, so they got this carrier instead.
Oh.
But, sir, it's the Enterprise. Understood.
The only guess I would have would be the Intrepid, but that's like New York.
That is wrong.
Yeah.
Mike, if you know the answer to this one, you guys will be tied up, and then we have sudden death.
Oh man, that's too deep.
I didn't even-
That knowledge is too deep. I don't know. The Constellation.
Sorry. Albie, do you know?
No, I did know at one time because one of my mother's sons is a lifelong career Navy man, and he was on that ship.
Oh,
So I've talked about it and found out about it, but I have no clue right now.
It is the USS Ranger.
Ooh, I wouldn't have got that.
Nope, me neither.
So, I'm sorry, there's the
all
scores.
right.
Wouldn't
You
have
got
got that.
David 3.
So Damon
Mike
for the
2.
win.
Yeah.
But
All right.
with the currency conversion, I think it's a tie
If you say so.
because the loony's worth more. I think right now.
I didn't know if any money was changing hands. No one is changing hands here. We don't want to be shut down by the SEC or the FBI. or
Send
there
a
might be
dollar
some
in an
kind
envelope
of,
to
I don't know,
542.
right?
Uncle Soupy. All right,
All
what's
right.
next, my friends?
Trek and Tells, but
Trek and Tell.
we're already 2 hours.
Can you
want
go
us to keep
first,
doing
Chris?
Trek and Tell?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, mine's a little involved. You guys, you have the horses to stick with this.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on this one.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Let me show you something you got in the mail like almost 6-7 months ago, maybe even a little bit longer. This is the 2025-26 season promo for the Metropolitan Opera.
Wow.
Now, opera is kind of staid and stodgy, but I don't know if you recognize the figure that's on this pamphlet. And the reason why this is a Trek and Tell is this is a character from a novel called The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. It's about 2 cousins before World War II. One of them escapes from Europe, and he moves in with his cousin in Brooklyn, and they start a comic book called The Escapist. This is The Escapist, that comic book character. The opera is mounting a production of The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay this season, or the next season, 25-26. Never in my life did I think that I would see a character from a book that I love, a modern book, portrayed in a Metropolitan Opera. So 2 of my loves are clashing. The reason I'm bringing this up on Trek and Tell is because the author of this book is Michael Chabon. Michael Chabon was the show creator and showrunner for Picard Season 1.
Wow.
Now, Picard Season 1 was a turkey. It wasn't good.
I liked it.
But I mean, so I could not, so anyway,
He puts the key behind the brick.
I got, I don't know what you're talking about. Fine. That was season 3, wasn't it? Or that was season
I don't
2. That
remember.
was season 2.
Was it 2?
Yeah.
Anyway,
What happened?
I have in my hot little hands here, my season tickets finally came. And I've been waiting to open them to see if I have seats to Cavalier and Clay as part of my subscription.
Oh, it's like a
So-
scratch off.
Somebody start a drum roll. To this, I have no idea what my shows are this season.
I'm gonna have to blur everything, or you're gonna get some young ingenue showing up at your door while
guess.
training.
You're gonna have to figure this out for me. All
Okay.
right. So, surprise, surprise! I have La Boheme.
Yay!
Freaking Boheme. I have Madame Butterfly. I love Butterfly. Tetris-on. I have Porgy and Bess.
Oh,
That's
Porgy and
another
Bess is
new
good.
production. Gershwin. I've wanted to see this
Yeah.
one. So far, 3 good ones. I always give La
Porgy
Boheme to
and
my
Bess.
cousin because I have 2 more on this side. I haven't looked yet. Let's see. I got the Magic Flute again, and Don Giovanni. Oh well.
No?
Is there a
Oh,
Facebook
well.
trading group where like
No,
people
it's-
like you
there's-
can also exchange just in case they
So
wanted that one and this one?
no Cavalier and Clay for me. No, the trading group is called the Metropolitan Opera Box Office.
Wow.
I don't know if you know about this, but the Metropolitan Opera is a barn. It's like got 8 million seats. You can usually always find a seat.
Find
for a
tickets?
show. So
Okay.
what I'm going to do is trade in probably the Magic Flute because I
Wow.
just saw that last season, and yeah. So oh well, a little
well.
anticlimactic, but oh wait, I got another one.
Woo!
Holy crap! This is the most tickets I've
It's
gotten.
the
in a
bonus
while.
section. Scratch off the bonus section.
No, it's La Sonambula. I've always wanted to see La Sonambula.
I don't know that one.
So, oh well. No, sorry guys. That was supposed to be a Trek and Tell. Imagine if it had worked out. Somebody's going to have to snap me back into temporal phase so that I can do this again.
Well,
But okay, so now I got my season.
you're in the wrong
Boheme,
timeline, but luckily Jadzia Dax gets to be an old man for real.
I get to see Chocho-san this season, so that's good. I've always wanted to see. Okay, so Porgy and Bess is real good. I listened to
Porgy
it.
and Bess. That's awesome.
And
Might join you for that one.
Don Giovanni. One more quick aside. I was just in Europe, in Eastern Europe, and I was in Vienna. No, Vienna. And
You tried the
was that-
sausage, right?
No, maybe it was Prague. Where the hell was I?
Just traipsing around Europe,
I was
backpacking.
cruising around. I was in the city where
I know you're in
Mozart premiered and conducted Don Giovanni. I have a picture of it. I'll
Wow.
send you the picture of the opera house. I think it was in. Where do they have the astronomical clock? Is that in Prague? I
What,
believe
was
it's
the
in
opera
Prague.
house the one with all the lights on the water?
No, that was the Parliament building in Budapest.
Ah, Budapest.
Budapest. So okay, so that's my Trek and Tell.
Nice.
So it's a very roundabout Trek and Tell. Star Trek meets opera meets literature meets disappointment in my season tickets.
If I lived in your area, I would be going to everything all the time, always.
I try to.
Yeah.
Because
Mike.
life is pretty short. If you don't pick your head up and look around.
You got to look up, and
You just
look
might
around
miss
once in a
it.
while. Yep.
Right.
Mike.
So I looked for these at my dad's house and I found them. These are my Star Trek Deep Space Nine pajamas.
Oh wow. They have
They're
wormholes in them.
disappearing, Mike.
They are just
It cut out Ben Cisco perfectly, like
It really did.
stick puppet.
so that's the shirt. That's the shirt. I had these when I was like 11.
Wow, I've never even seen that
Oh.
fabric. That's so
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
And I
wow.
got the pants too.
No, lifelong fan. Oh, those might fit one of your kids now.
Well,
And
yeah,
those are DS9 pajamas?
but you got Odo on there. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to find.
Okay, guess what I'm buying on eBay before I post this episode?
You got the station, of course, and Quark's on there somewhere. Where's Quark?
What?
Mhm.
Oh,
Quark. Oh, there's here. I think he's on the shirt only, maybe.
yep. Oh, are these legit?
Oh yeah. No,
They're
I-
like licensed and everything? Okay, I'm sure they don't make my size, but Rennie's going to get a pair of Deep Space Nine
there's
pajamas.
Quark.
Wow.
That is so cool.
Let's see. Tag says Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Copyright 1993, Paramount Pictures.
Wow.
So,
What size?
14.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Huh?
Vintage.
If I didn't have to pay tariffs on those, I'd say send them to me.
Oh, I'm keeping these.
Okay, good. That's smart.
They are not for sale.
That is an awesome Trek and Tell. I'll go before Damon just because I don't have anything awesome like that. Just new 3D prints I made.
Oh, nice.
I have I have a new uniform for our next bunch of episodes, but I couldn't find the right comm badge, so I 3D printed these.
Oh.
Some paper stuck to it from the super glue to glue the magnets in and stuff. But Serenity and I made these together. They're super magnets, neodymiums, and we spray painted them and we 3D printed, and so I got some comm badges.
Nice.
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
So they stick on the refrigerator when I'm not using them. So I'm going to make all the different sections.
Nice.
Nice.
Did you want one of these, Chris?
Sure. I
Okay.
always like a comic, but I have one, so don't
Do you have
don't
something
rush.
similar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
well,
worn it a
if,
few times on the show.
oh, if you want anything of like a Future Imperfect or something, I'm making those next. All right.
Cool.
That and I guess we're on Deep Space Nine. So Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Mhm.
Nitpicker's Guide. Mike and I, we found out that it only goes to season 4, the end of season 4. So maybe there's a more complete one out there. Let us know.
Yeah.
And Tony Todd, I was lucky enough to see in the theater. Tony Todd's last performance. I don't know if you, but we recently lost Tony Todd.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons I went to see Final Destination Bloodlines.
Mm.
He's
Wow.
really good in it. He's only in there for a little bit because he was like dying of cancer, I believe.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
But great performance as always. Not as good as this one, but it's a horror movie, so what do you want? You know. But yeah, that's my Tony Todd a little bit.
Uh.
All right, Damon.
Well, yeah, there's like another book I have, but maybe I'll share that for another time. But I have these books, the 3 of these, the Millennium, the trilogy. There was like book 1, book 2, and book 3. I just remember like I didn't buy a lot of these novels, but I just remember kind of like flipping through these. And I think this was like right after the show had ended too. I think that it takes place like toward the end, and the whole like time travel aspect and the alternate timeline aspect of the series. And I just remember reading these and thinking they were really good. I kind of liked how they interwove like some of the mythology in there, and it kind of went back. It was one of like the few things that I looked at and it's like, oh, I gotta read these, because I didn't read a lot of the books, because there's like just too many to choose from.
Yeah.
But and the other thing I was gonna share was it's sort of Quantum Leap related, but it's also Star Trek related. Was Mike talked about the virtual seasons before, so I think at the time I wrote this. I think I was a little inspired by The Visitor. I might have even said it, but this was a story. It wasn't the first story I wrote, but this was like the first of I wrote a story, and then this was like the first of 3 stories I wrote. Future's End, with Sam going into the future and seeing it's kind of similar format with like Sam like basically meeting his granddaughter and her telling him the story about what happened when he did not return home.
Ah.
So that he could go back and change his fate.
That's
So
a
it was,
good
like,
idea.
The first idea was him leaping into his future, seeing like what happened, and like everybody is like this sort of like a cult of people who he's like helped throughout the years, and it's like it kind of became something that it wasn't supposed to, and it's like and it goes back into like his past and then his present. So it was a little, I think, inspired by The Visitor subconsciously when I wrote it. So, and it was one of the better stories I wrote. I think I'm still pretty proud of it. So,
Is that on Al's Place or somewhere?
yeah, it is on the Virtual Seasons website, which is on Al's place. So you can go to the
All right,
virtual
cool.
seasons.
Hopefully, I'll remember to put that link in below.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
All right, very cool
Right.
Trek and Tells today, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for bearing with mine. I know it was.
I'm very interested in it. I want to go to the opera more. It's just there's not very many around here. All right, so I guess we're doing final thoughts and ratings out of 5 silly objects.
Wrap this up. Let's gotta
Wrap it up.
this
Yeah.
Wrap it up. It's tomorrow already.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start with let's start with Damon Christopher Sugameli. Sugi.
Well, final thoughts. Just I can't say it enough. This is like my favorite episode of I think all of Trek. I'm not counting New Trek because I haven't seen much of New Trek, but I would still say it probably is going to be my favorite, even if I eventually catch up on all of that. Definitely the Berman era with Voyager and Enterprise and all that stuff. I can't say enough about it. It's just it's always stuck with me. As Chris said at the beginning, it stands the test of time. I want to give it out of 5. I guess I will give it 10 copies of Anselm. Is that how you say it? Anselm?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
And our Canadian friend, Mr. Mike Bloxham from Fandom Entanglement Entertainment. Entanglement. I think I got it right.
Fan of Entanglement. You got
TV
it.
DVD podcast. Okay.
Slash cosplay.
What are your final thoughts and ratings out of 5? Remember to use silly objects.
Yes. Final thoughts. Just to rehash, it's a fantastic story of the bond between a father and son. And like I said, it could be set anywhere, but they set it in the Star Trek universe with these two characters, and just makes it a perfect DS9 episode in my mind. So if we go as high as 10, then I'm going to change it to 10 subspace inversions out of 5.
Wow. All right. I'll go next because I like Chris to bring it home. It's up there. It's like probably in my top 5, definitely my top 10. It's the perfect type of Star Trek episode that I like. The ones that are not really the standard. The ones that are sometimes called filler episodes. I think this made Trek Culture's top 10 filler episodes of Star Trek of all time. Just because it's not the standard, and it's like you gotta, when you gotta fill 22, 26 episodes a season, you got more opportunity to tell more stories, I think, which is what modern day all of television is missing.
Yes.
Filler episodes. This episode resonates with me in so many ways that I've stated. You can't even count them. I'm gonna say it's perfect for me, and I'm gonna give it out of 5 silly objects. I'm gonna give it 10 poison hypo sprays out of 5. Christopher, final thoughts and ratings out of 5.
I have to say, this episode, as good as it is, also transcends Star Trek in many ways. Like you have been saying this whole time, Mike, that this could have been any science fiction story, and I think it proves the assertion. I don't know if it was, I think it was Ron Moore that said, or it might have been, why am I blanking? Bluebeard created DS9. Ira. It might have been Ron. Yeah, it might have been Ron or Ira. That Star Trek could be. It could be anything. It could be It could be a war show if you want it to be a war show. Mm-hmm. It could be this. It could be that. It's Star Trek. The possibilities are endless, and to have an episode like this that so steps out of the convention, the genre, that familiar Star Trek feel, just to present a loving story of the bond between the father and a son, just to take the time to explore something like this, and yet it's still somehow quintessentially Star Trek. I mean, it just shows you what this show can be capable of in the right hands, and the fact that you can explore almost any idea you want to with these characters, and you can do it well. So I mean, that puts it above even more in my estimation than just like the sheer visceral reaction that you get, the emotional gut punch, and just the wonderful closeness that you see between Ben and Jake. So because of all that, I'm going to give it 9 rain-drenched ingenues out of 10.
I'll take it
for the season. So
that's pretty awesome. Just real quick before we give the addresses out, shout out to Happy 626 Day as we're recording for anyone who celebrates.
Okay, happy 626 Day.
Happy 626 Day. Amada, I'm sure would appreciate that. Is she celebrating today?
I don't even think she realized it.
Well, there's always tomorrow. It's always 626 somewhere. Chris, where can people find us, get in touch with us, give us money?
Yeah, and tell us what you think about this episode as well.
Yeah, that too.
All right, you can get us here on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Treksploration. But if you really want to give us money, a good way to do that is to go to our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/Treksploration, patreon.com/Treksploration. You can also hit us up on Instagram. That's Treksploration Pod. You can get us on Blue Sky. It's Treksploration.
Blue Sky.
Social.
Nothing but blue skies.
TikTok. I don't even know why we have a TikTok. It's tiktok.com/@Treksploration. Email us TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. Send us a check. P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11005.
Bequeath your riches to us.
Yes, actually send me a check because the fee is up on the post office box at the end of this month, so I got to pay it like in next weekend. You can also make us a one-time donation to support the post office box with PayPal friends and family links, which you'll find below here. So if we're allowed to do that, I hope YouTube doesn't ban us. And you can do the same at buymeacoffee.com/Treksploration, again, for a one-time donation if you so choose. And we would appreciate any and all donations that you might want to give us to help keep the show running, to keep at least the post office box open.
Yeah.
And just remember, any of your comments will be used most likely on an upcoming episode of Treksploration. And speaking of upcoming episodes, Albie, we are headed into some Strange New Worlds, are we not? What's going on?
We are. We are now a legit Star Trek podcast, and we are excited to cover Strange New Worlds coming up. You want to tell them a little bit about it, Chris?
Yeah, well, I didn't even know about this until about a day and a half ago, but apparently we have screener access to Strange New Worlds. So we are now in possession of the first 5 episodes of the new season. Albie, of course, has watched them all.
I mainlined him the first night.
I have not even
came up.
I have not even figured out how to load them onto my iPad yet, but I'll get there. I'll get there. That being said, what we're going to do is start dedicating our immediate future to reviews of Strange New World. Of course, Albie being Albie said, yes, let's do all 19 episodes that we haven't done in the next 2.5 weeks.
That was my idea. Bad idea.
I said, no, we're never going to be able to pull that off. And you're not going to even try.
Survive it. You would be like QLP 22 all over again.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do, we haven't really figured it out yet, but we're probably going to do some omnibus shows talking about season 1, talking about season 2, talking about the characters, the things that we have liked about Strange New Worlds in preparation for season 3. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing that maybe with some special guests.
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Alison Pregler she has signaled her willingness to come back and talk about SNW with us as well. So we might get some more Alison sightings, which is always nice. And
so make sure you subscribe to see all that stuff.
Please, yeah. So come one, come all. We're going to be talking about Space Dad and the adventures of his unruly space kids. And that rascally Kirk that shows up every now and again. And
I'm not going to give anything away other than to say,
don't give anything away.
It was worth the 2-year wait. How's that?
All right. I guess they'll be happy that you said that. So I'll be the judge of that, though.
Yes, I will.
So we're heading into some bold new directions here, and we can't wait to get started. So those shows will be dropping soon, and then we will be dropping the episode reviews.
6 a.m. on Thursday.
6 a.m. on Thursday.
That's when we're allowed to talk about the episodes.
So
you'll be able to watch them at 3 a.m. and then 6 a.m. hear us talk about them.
You for sure want to subscribe.
Yes.
Subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel.
Speaking of subscribing,
Treksploration.
Damon and Mike, where can they subscribe to your show, Fandom Entanglement?
Do you want to say it, Mike? You're always having.
Yeah, we're over at youtube.com/@fandomentanglement. You can also check out our website at fandomentanglement.com.
Awesome. What's coming up with you? Still doing sliders?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we just recorded our bonus episode, just kind of talking about the comics, just doing our brief thoughts on season 2 because we finished up season 2, and then maybe by the time this episode is out, maybe that episode it's probably within the next few days or so. I haven't not had a chance as of this recording to edit it, but we also have some it's like feedback from fans and like some video clips and an audio clip in there.
Awesome.
So from other fans, and then we're going to start up season 3 pretty soon. I just don't know what the timing of it all is because we're going to get a few done early on, and we'll see how that goes. So we're going to start up season 3 very shortly.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Speaking of editing, reductivearts.com for all your editing needs. Thank you to them for helping us out. And if you have any episodes coming up where no one wants to join you, call me. I love bad episodes of Sliders.
Yeah.
All right.
So you love sliders, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
I'm Chris.
I'm Damon.
And I'm Mike.
And we'll see you next time.
Live long and prosper.
Watch it all night, we're ready for a ride. Take it to the car, side by side. Feel the rhythm as we move to the beat. And we're World Podcast with DFB. Sideways fun, we set the stage. Listen, Albie Blue Rhythms from every age. Captain Charles, get ready through the cosmic tide. Get our limited love. Tight to ride.